Hey, fam, welcome back to another episode of I'm Telling You.
I'm telling you.
That was weak sauce. Do it again.
I'm telling you.
Do it one more time with commitment.
I'm telling you.
I mean, that was...
and...
Oh, hey, welcome to I'm Telling You. This is Philly D.
And Mr. Gemini.
Miss Clickety Clack, I'm Miss JD.
Yeah, as always, if you want, you can reach out to us, ITY at directionsinmusic.org. Independently, you can also do, GEMINI at directionsinmusic.org. I love the robot, dude. I miss you with like the robot, right?
Or Philly D, PHILLYD.
Dude. Yeah, when we used to actually like have to spell it out. Oh, that was awesome. Dude, I miss the IMTEL. Dude, it was the whole robot. I miss it. Yeah, hey, first-time listeners, this is a 30-year friendship of me and this guy having, amazingly deep, intellectual, yet
Stupid,
fantastically fun. Yeah, right. What did we say? You said earlier, the Mystery Science 3000.
The Mystery Science Theater 3000 of your life.
That's what we do here.
That's what we aim to be.
We're our own peanut gallery. I guess that's like what it is, though, because we're only watching episodes of us. But I don't know, because we also do like the movie quotes and all that, and so I guess maybe we're like rewatching movies and like music videos and stuff, as well as like old reruns of video games and.
Yeah, I said the real conversation. That's what we're looking for. That's all it is, and it's not like the forbidden, like you said before. It's not about the forbidden. It's about just getting together as people and having a conversation. Whether you agree with everything I say or not, or my beliefs, it doesn't matter. Like, you just have a conversation. The dialectic, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, grassroots style, man.
Yeah, the grassroots is a definite, that's a serious accent on that. Like,
you know what I'm saying? Because it has to start here first.
And to me, grassroots is very much like one person at a time. You know, the whole, you tell a friend and then they tell a friend and then.
It's organic.
Well, and that's another statement we've always used to kind of describe what we try to do here is literally just record the raw organic nature of a conversation as it, morphs, as we dance around topics and we interweave things. And
we would tend to spend nights waxing poetic about philosophical crap and then like throwing jokes in between and just telling stories and going back and forth and memories, like, oh, I don't remember it that way. It was this way. And I'm like, oh, okay. And like just reliving stuff and like having a real conversation. Like I remember a couple of times where you came over and I was like, I was all about starting to show you like different YouTube videos. And I was like, you know what? We're going to shut this off. Because we need to just hang out and just talk. Like, I don't want to just, hey, come over, come watch this with me.
Yeah. And there is plenty of times when we have like our bro dates and we do watch something together. You know what I mean? So like there's a point to, I think, all of it really. A bigger part of what we do, I would say, is we also try to engulf the idea of balance, because it's not a thing that you would do to bring true happiness to your life and things around you. It's really a balance of all things in between and, so inside you, outside you, like all of it. So it's balance, man. I would really put it down to something like as simple as that. If you truly have balance in your life, I would feel you would be impeccable with your word. You would be impeccable with your actions. Did you
say something like balance between your inner and outer lives? Well,
so like the whole, like, so there's times where internally you're doing a higher level, we'll call it, like you're transcending, but yet the external hasn't caught up. But when you're truly at that place internally that the external also mimics in a sense. So it's that give and take, because then there's also times like externally things around you are like popping, but you're in a place where you're, emotionally, mentally, whatever, you're not seeing it. So you're not taking advantage of it, but it's right there. And so you got to catch up. Mm-hmm. So, to me, it's a back and forth on both of that.
Word.
Word to your mother.
Oh.
So I already popped mine.
I got a beverage to open.
Yeah, take it easy.
I got like no nails.
Yeah, we all know to like, give me 3 feet. 3 feet. Yeah. Need to make sure I'm in the no splash zone. I didn't bring my poncho with me, man. Oh,
I heard it go. Kss.
yeah. That's what I'm saying, dude. If you let
Does
it,
that mean I'm safe?
well, it's safer.
It's
Man, because when you just like straight pop it, you're getting the burst and then like everything else.
Bam.
Yeah, see, there was only like one little sploogie that went that way. It's all good.
We're not going to worry about that.
Yeah, that little guy right there. Yeah, we don't worry about that. Oh, but hey, bro, hey, Sasuke,
So as I
yeah, na zdrowie. Yeah,
salute.
as you like cheers the microphone's butt.
I'm like,
I cabled myself. Oh man. Oh, is this the weekend? Is that what you're into?
make a
Oh, it's
new
cool.
thing, man. It's going to be the same.
This is the thing. I'm telling you, bro. You should write this down. Yeah, no, don't write that down.
It's epic.
It is not legend and or wait for it dairy. We had neither of those. Nahin is a judge.
It's neither legend nor dairy.
Yeah, you don't get either of those. Dude, this is like, all right, so we were
Does it get to wait for it?
I mean, I feel like you can always get a wait for it because that's pretty hot. Like, you know. Yeah, no, for real, like in How I Met Your Mother
Again.
You brought it up. I'm just saying. So one of the kids, actually the first kid out of the whole group that's born, long story short, there's a bet. The outcome is that this first kid's middle name literally is wait for it. So his name becomes Marvin, wait for it, Erickson. That's his full name.
I remember that episode.
Right. I'm just saying, like, that's like the coolest name ever. Like, could you imagine having to get like roll call on that and be like, Marvin, wait for it, Eric's. Oh my, did I just say wait? Like, it's going to take a half second for the person to register. Where also they're just like, oh God, that's so awesome. Whose parents is awesome? That guy, your parents are awesome.
You're good.
You're my friend. We're gonna hang out later. Wait for it later. That's what we're gonna do. It's like, yeah, it's the coolest like middle name ever.
Wait for it.
Right? Like, dude, come on.
What's Kermit's middle name?
Oh, dude, I remember this joke, but I don't want to say it.
It wasn't a joke. It was actually a radio show.
Wait, what?
I actually asked it was a quiz question one day.
Oh, yeah, I thought you were saying like the radio show was called "What is Kermit's middle name?" But like, that's actually a pretty cool title.
But they asked, Kermit, the Muppet.
Right.
That was the question. And what was his middle name? Exactly.
Yeah, Kermit, but the frog.
It took like a half an hour for people to finally get it right.
What do they just call in and be like, is it Lenny? Like, no, that is incorrect. Oh, Rapunzel. Nope, sorry again. I mean, I would like to hear what some of the...
And the guy that called up, he was like, the?
I'm pretty sure it's pronounced the, but we'll let it slide.
The?
What is the? What is the what? The what? The what?
The name is the.
I don't know. Third base. You just keep going around and around. Oh man, that's that's another thing I think about us is we're very like old school traditional at this point. I mean, like, dude, we're getting older.
We have our own traditions, I guess.
But so even further than like us with where we were at, like we're both not, you've heard it probably more than I have, is that you're an old soul. So there's very much like you and I mean, that's like, dude, this is why we love like jazz and like R&B and like old school swing and like stuff from like before. Like we cherish those things of like art and community and like, these values that we seem to always had as a society across the board and somehow have seemed to have strayed from them. Like we're still aware. We're just like not doing anything about it. I don't know.
I mean, I don't know. I think a lot of that stuff it comes and goes. I mean, steampunk is real popular now. So I mean, in a way, that's kind of like a very retro. When you're talking about powering everything with steam, which is actually just burning coal. But
well, so dude, all right, I'm like, because we've talked about the whole farmstead homestead thing. So being efficient in using your resources. There's a thing called a rocket stove, right? Like I think we've talked about this before. Where it's, the way the system is designed with the chimney and the actual burning section, it creates more or less what they would call like a jet reaction, like super turbine kind of mass,
Yeah, we're saying once you get the thing started up, you can just throw like whatever random sticks, twigs.
Yeah, and it burns at such a high intensity that it vaporizes everything so that you don't get like carbon monoxide, you get, H2O in the air because all the molecules break down and separate. And because, so you can exhaust it into your breathing air because it's not going to be like carbon monoxide or too much CO2 or like anything. You're basically just putting moisture in the air in a sense.
Well, it still exhausts out. They never go.
No, the rocket stoves are stated if they burn correctly, if they're designed right, by the time they exhaust out, there is no harmful exhaust of any kind. Because you've so superheated everything in it that all of the particulate burns out so that all you're left with is just like the cleanest, purest molecules, which is like hydrogen and oxygen and stuff like that.
Yeah, I like watching some of these guys that do the, not even just the homesteaders, but the guys that like try to build little cabins out of this. Two different major methods that I've enjoyed watching, and one is just using what's around you in the woods. So you have to cut your own lumber to make walls to, whether it's really it's more like the bigger projects where you can go in and lay down on a bed. It's like a house inside.
Right.
Mini kitchen area. Basically, one of those stoves is commonly used, and it's fascinating to watch like people make the most interesting meals right there, like in the middle of this. What was the other style of the that I liked watching is using the pallet wood.
Oh, I haven't seen, you were telling me about this.
Pallet wood only to make
that's what inspired your dog house for your little buddy.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're like, hey, I could do that. I can make shingle. All this. Oh, yeah. And then dude, honestly, bro,
it's probably gonna outlive the shed.
Dude, it's dope. Like you did a really nice job, man.
I never painted it though.
I thought didn't you start to or something?
I wanted to. I was trying to find everything for free.
Which, yeah, I think for the most part, like you were even.
I had to buy new screws to replace ones I had and a couple nails.
Yeah, but for the most part, you even reused some nails and stuff. Like you were really, truly repurposing, recycling, like all that, like that. And it turned out really nice.
Well, thank you.
Well, it just, I think it's an attestament to the idea of like
for somebody who's never done it before. It's basically like framing out a tiny home.
So that's like your first like big woodworking project, period. That's even more impressive. Like that kicks you from like 7.5 to like 8.25, bro. You scaled up for real, dude. I got to lean on that. Yeah. Good job.
Yeah. Like, math worked out like on a tabletop, like a wooden tabletop where I just wrote on top of it.
Oh yeah. I remember that. Yeah. But you don't have paper. You're going to write on the wood.
It's
what you're doing when you're in the woods, taking down your woods.
Using reclaimed materials. And I was just making for a dog that honestly has no interest in ever going in there.
Dude, I'm the only one.
I am the only one that's been in there. And like 6 foot
literally. He wasn't in trouble. He just climbed in. He was like, "Oh, can I hang out?" Hey, what are you doing? Hanging out in the clubhouse.
If I was smaller, it'd be quite cozy in there. It's not so bad. It could use like, maybe some wallpaper and a nice
a TV and a bar.
TV and a bar. Like a nice cushy pillow or something in the middle.
Ooh, this love. Oh. Give me the fluffy
pillow with the soft cushions. Ooh. You will have tea every 2 hours.
Oh, that's lovely.
We're so lovely.
But yeah, so going back to the whole efficiency thing, right? So beyond that stuff, if you're doing the rocket stove, you can actually harness like a recirculating steam system, almost like a reverse air conditioner. So an air conditioner works on the idea of super compressing Freon and then allowing it to expand like super quick. And you get that reaction of like it cools down. Well, so same thing with steam. When you have that massive amount of pressure that you can allow to build up because you can actually like bottleneck it, take it from a massive expansion and cause it because, the heat's going to move. The steam kind of compresses even further. You can then like drive stuff with it. Like you can literally drive a small wheel and you can actually run with it a generator of sort and you can pull some electricity out of it. At the same time, the way you're ducting everything, you're not just heating that water, but you can also use that water like as it runs even further to like heat your floors. You know, because there's heated floor setups. Well, now you're just doing it with the heat you're making with literal scraps, you know, limbs, stuff that just fell on the ground. So the idea of being able to super efficiently use trash off the ground that really is just, you're just going to pick up stuff that at some point is going to decompose and just
stuff
turn
that
into,
already fell.
Yeah, you don't need to take any trees down ever unless it's like, you know, for a purpose of keeping things running. And
you don't have to have that many trees around to have always like a little bit of dead wood lying about.
a few acres, literally, and you would never run out of heating for your entire house.
Constantly has dead wood in it. I mean, I don't burn it on a regular, but I mean, even if I went camping out there several times a year in that very spot, I'd still have plenty of wood.
Yeah, and so on
that's just a small amount of trees.
The rocket stove part, the venting, the actual exhaust side, you can duct it and then run it. Like I've seen setups where they run it through, you know, like hempcrete or something like hay or some form of mud adobe kind of a thing, so that you get the, you know, the intrinsic property of like heat distribution. You're scavenging that extreme heat coming off this turbine jet style mass burning that now warms the bench. So your bench is warm. So that's why I was like, you can double do it with the water and the exhaust side. So you can have the heat not only warming the floor because of the water that you can run through it and whatnot, but then you can also have it like warm. And now if this is like your entire basement is literally warm to like 68, 70 degrees.
Well, that's where you could just run it through a radiator. I mean, that's what you used to do in the old days. You run it through a radiator that sits in a central location in the living space, you know, whatever it is.
And well, think about it. So now if you have that down in the basement and you're running that for heated floors on like your first and or second floor, I mean, you're really not going to need much for heating because you're always going to have this radiant, you know, heat's on the floor and it wants to rise. So it's always going to lift, and you're doing it on all the floors. I mean, it's a great way to be super cheap and efficient on what you're doing.
Some of these guys had this stove that you're talking about, and they had like an attachment that goes up the pipe a bit,
right,
before it goes through the roof or the sidewall or wherever they choose. And it's a tiny little oven cage that goes in line with the whole exhaust system.
Okay,
and it's pretty sweet because like I'll watch these guys and they'll make like a stew or something on the stovetop with basic ingredients and maybe salt, pepper, maybe some other seasonings. Make like a kick-ass stew out of stuff that you could carry with you in a backpack. And then they bring out like these little frozen like pre-made rolls and throw them in there. And the ones that actually rise and cook.
Right.
You throw in a couple loaves of that into this thing, and like, you know, they do a time lapse, you know, half hour later or whatever it is. And he's got this whole meal, like this stew and these really like crusty bread. Yeah. Just pulled out of the oven and they're still hot.
Yeah, I mean, dude, that's still seeing like, oh.
I'm like, that's some good camping.
Well, so like, all right, hearing stories from my parents.
And I'm like, dude, with freaking pallet wood. Like this one guy was sick, dude. Like he had like a little lean-to for a table. Like he would put this little stick in there and it would hold it in place, and like had a little spot to eat, and he could fold that up, and he had have room to move around a bit, you know, light a candle over here, and like the couch turned into a bed kind of thing. It was all like this very usable space, but it was only, I think, smaller than your average American prison cell.
Well, those usually get shared with a couple of guys, so you know what I mean? Well, so, and that's like my thing is like,
it was like 3x6 or something like that.
Remembering stories that my parents have told me, because I was born out of country. Like I was born in Spain, and I was raised basically on a 1 acre ranch. I mean, they raised rabbits for the meat and the fur. Like they would eat the meat, sell the fur. They would raise St. Bernards because apparently they were of some kind of worth. They had a couple of goats, you know, so you could have like meat and milk. We had like, you know, a pig or two, same thing. Bunch of chickens, eggs, meat, all that stuff.
Milk from the pigs?
No, from the goats.
You said same thing.
Well, yeah, for, as far as like for meat and, yeah. Do you know what I'm saying? What a nasal.
For nutrition.
Yeah, oh, it's so good. It's the eclair scene all over again. But yeah, and then in the same thing, would make fresh bread every day. So my parents, because they were like, my mom didn't work. It was only my dad. He was military. He was like low rank, but was enough that with the way they were given this, that, and the other, being abroad and they worked as well as they could, meant that we had to really fend for ourselves. So we had to be more efficient in our usage and stuff. So I was young and don't remember it, but hearing those stories, I really, at this point in my life, relate to it very much, where it's like, I can feel myself wanting to get back to that rawness or that almost like innocence where you really have to be self-sufficient. And you can't do it by yourself. So there's a small network or family that comes out of that. So for that system to really work, like you have to have like tight knit, everybody works with each other. That's like, so I'm definitely trending that way. And it's like a dope way of living, I think.
Yeah, I'm not so much with the fast-paced city life. I can tell you that.
And there's times where
there are times where it's enjoyable.
Absolutely.
And I do like the convenience of being able to find things. No, I mean, like when you're out in the sticks, I mean, like if the most
I know. I just the way you
most
put
normal
it, like,
things that are necessities in your life become like, okay, well, I got to know when I'm going to run out because it takes me 2 hours to get to the nearest general store or whatever.
And I mean,
or even a half a day. Who knows?
In today's age of like how we can purchase and deliver things, that kind of modifies that. Like there really isn't that much need of a general store out in the middle of nowhere anymore because you can get deliveries and stuff, but it's kind of weird.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely made the world a little bit smaller in that sense that in most places, in most populated areas, it's fairly easy. But I'm talking about when you're well out in the sticks.
Oh, you're talking like the Arctic Circle of Alaska and stuff, where you get like 7 or 8 months of viable.
I mean, it doesn't even have to be that far out, but I mean, you start getting 20, 30 miles from your nearest neighbor. That's like way out.
Do you think about, all right, so.
But to live off the grid, you don't have to go that far.
As much as I hate the idea of like wanting to live in snow or like mass humidity, the idea of taking over a section of like your own land in Alaska and like building and like taking from the land and, finding that balance and all that stuff.
That was that dude Bush Radical that I looked up.
Well, there's a few that have done it. That was
where he started. Like one of the first things he did was he homesteaded in Alaska. And I think his whole point was it's all about property. He's like, because you don't own anything if you don't own property. So he's like, I didn't have a cell phone yet. I was 19 years old, but I had property. He's like going through this whole list of things he doesn't have, but he's like, I got property.
Yeah, I like this. This is a dope story of priorities.
And, he'd live out of a tent while he was building a cabin. Or I think the first one was like a log cabin.
Where you're literally talking about where he has to like chop down the tree. Like he has to fell a bunch of trees and then like
he's doing all this by hand, like
the bark off and like cut it and like he's making a log cabin basically.
Yeah, and like make sure everything's. But he didn't. The first one actually, because I saw pictures of it. It wasn't the one where you stack the logs horizontally. It was the one where you do it vertically. So I don't think it's not the same structurally. I'd prefer the one where you stack them horizontally.
It's like Lincoln logs.
Well, because they interlock. This way they don't really interlock. You're
Well, but did he build like, was there like, I mean, if that's kind of
that's one of the ones he started with. Like he built kind of like a shack while he was living in the tent. And then he lived in the shack while he was building the cabin.
Did he express why this was a thing that he did to build in this fashion? Because I feel like somebody who's
I think from early on, he had an issue with giving out all this money for stuff that he really doesn't like. Why do I need all this? Why do I need insurance and all this other stuff? Like if I can just get a chunk of property that I can, you know what I mean? Like all these things that we can, you know, big screen TVs and, you know, Wi-Fi and electronics and all. He's like, for me, this is where it's at. This is what I enjoy. I enjoy being out in the wilderness. I enjoy fending for myself and working for myself. He's like, it gives me a sense of satisfaction. And he's like, my wife and I love to come out to a new place and homestead and figure out like, and he would actually draw out plans like, and do all this stuff like backwoods carpenter style.
Well, so that, I mean,
and it's just cool to watch. Like
because I'm thinking about the whole doing it as a pole all the way around. I mean, I guess construction wise, that's the least to do the logs vertically as opposed to horizontal and notching them back and forth, right? That's what you were saying.
Yeah, where you actually have to stack. Like you could be working for a long time, but you still don't have any livable space because it's not until you have to get them stacked all the way up till, I don't know, 7-8 feet before then you can start building a roof in the second floor.
Wait, but that's what I'm saying. Like you said, so he did reverse of the Lincoln log setup where it would crisscross as you go horizontal this way, then the sides.
Yeah, the first one he did, he built it cabin style where you're basically building a box frame. And I don't know all the technical jargon, so you'll have to
try. But try to paint me a word picture on this because I'm picturing
like you build the four corners, and then you get you know attachments to all those corners. You build yourself like a big rectangle or a box or whatever, and like all the
but that's what,
all the upright trees would be halved, so they would be stacked along the outside. So it was a totally different, not like a log cabin that you're thinking. But then when you get to the side of the house, like the logs would be taller toward the peak of the roof. You know what I'm saying? Just
No, I don't. I want you to draw me a picture. Oh, bro. Picture pages.
He didn't actually, I don't know if he actually had a video.
What was his name again?
Bush Radical.
Well, because see, like what I'm picturing is like old school fort wall where it's like, you're literally going vertical log by log by log. So you would be almost like fence post style, burying it in the ground so this thing stands straight up.
Yeah, but it's like
continuous down the line.
I think from what I can, and I don't remember.
That's what I'm picturing from what you're. That's why I'm like, draw me a picture, bro.
Well,
no, because I don't know if this is correct or not in that fashion.
I mean, I'm not going to.
Yeah, I mean, I get the whole like rectangle thing, but that's what I'm saying. Like, is he building the frame horizontally because he has four vertical posts?
I want to say he started with the stanchions in the corners.
You talking to the mic as you're doing this?
Yeah, I want to say that he started with the stanchions in the four corners, and then he just kind of built everything else. But yeah, you kind of dig them into the ground, but I think it was mainly the
So he took basically four corners.
And made four pillars and built around the pillars.
So like fence style, put the post in the ground so that...
Built it log cabin style in the sense that like when you got to the side of the structure, like wherever the roof was going to peak, like you would go up
and make your typical
like your
typical A-frame roof.
An A-frame roof, exactly. With the logs cut at an angle so that they would come together at a point.
Yeah, I get that. But
it's a totally different style of what I would think of as like a traditional log cabin.
But then how did he side and roof this house?
I don't know all those details because, like I said, I didn't see that he had a video for the actual building of that one. I think that was before he started recording videos.
Oh, he was talking about it.
He showed pictures.
That sucks because I want to see this thing.
He may have done a version of it later. I can't remember.
Well, because I mean, I
think she found something.
Well, that looks very finished, though. That's like fine work. Because, I mean, I think with what you're talking about, I can see a very rudimentary, like...
I got hooked on one of his...
Wilderness set where you're talking about using... So if you would use all these smaller, like 2-inch, 3-inch, like, you know, small trees as literal pieces, and then you can use, you know, the thatch or the limbs and leaves and stuff, from, especially like pines and stuff. Yeah. Interweave it and then put a cast over top of it. You literally have like weatherproofing.
The old colonial homes were kind of like that, except they used full on trees, like logs. And then they would fill in with, they'd make a cement with the local mud and whatever else.
Yeah, like clay and sand and what. Yeah, you would make basically like a concrete or a cement mix. Concrete would have stone in it. But yeah, you make
a cement.
Yeah, a mortar or a cement.
And you would pack that in all the gaps between the logs.
Well, I guess also
all the way
cement
from the floor.
has lime or something or lye in it too. So I think that's so. Yeah, it'd be
Yeah,
more. I think technically the term would be mortar. You would be making a mortar. I just, dude, I don't. Oh,
And that, and then you'd either, I guess, put boards on the floor or just throw down hay. Because then it would keep it dry. Because then it would keep it dry.
Well, you would.
Very warm though. Once you light a small fire, one of those little fireplaces you're talking about would make that like probably hot enough to be uncomfortable.
Well, so here's the thing. Like, I feel most people misunderstand about insulation. Like, because this was my biggest hang up on it. When I found this out, I was like, holy crap, that totally makes sense. And I never thought about that before. Having what's called barriers, whether it's a moisture barrier or a vapor barrier or air barrier, whatever, like there's multiple. Every time you get a literal air gap, it doesn't matter how minuscule or large it is, the literal air gap between layers is the higher insulating value as you gain multiple layers of air gap. So a cheap way, like for like a greenhouse, right? You can do a clear vinyl. And what you do is you put one on the one side of a PVC hoop. This is the cheapest way you can make an insulated greenhouse, and it's super dope. You take you take PVC and hoop it. You make literally a hoop. So you get it so it's like large enough that it kind of flexes itself out because you're not trying to put, joints or bends or anything. So it's large enough that as these pipes together, it'll bend out. And you're 8 feet, 10 feet wide, whatever. You can wrap the plastic on the inside and then a second layer on the outside. Here's a kicker on this. You can take a fan that's dug into the ground so that it's pulling basically floor temperature, which is the ground, which is like, even in the middle of winter, 56 degrees. You can duct that air into that air gap between those two pieces of plastic, and it'll retain that much more warmth in that greenhouse. Free insulation and heat. Like, dude, cheap as can be, like easy as can be. Like it's, yeah, and you can do that throughout the night. So you're talking like you can get into the negatives and you're still going to be having a barrier that's, retaining some sort of temperature. And oh man, so you can be, that's how you can have almost like an orangery in the middle of like.
It's like a double walled thermos, man.
Yeah. And it's a cheap way to do it. Yeah, you're talking about just coming from nothing to start from things, and then it's how you can like build things up and like really, because you got to build redundancy in your system so that you can actually have.
Like when you build a brick house.
She's a brick.
It's not just one layer of brick.
How?
My tomato.
Are you even listening to me?
I'll hang out. But yeah, so you're building a brick house. Go ahead.
Oh, now you want to?
Nahinajat. Yes.
No,
yes, now I want to listen.
You're building a brick house or a warehouse or whatever.
He's trying to.
It's not just one layer of bricks. It's two. You have a gap in between.
Well, yeah, because typically you'll have like the cinder block as your base, and then you'll get your typical small rectangular, like your red stock.
Like an old brick building. It wasn't just one layer of brick. It was.
Yeah. And usually steel reinforcements too.
Girth.
Well, yeah, you'd have like steel pillars, steel headers. It'd be all iron framework, really. And then you would build brick around that. And even some of that, like cinder block and stuff, would have concrete in it too with rebar. Mm-hmm. Additional reinforcement. Like, dude, those things are, you think about that, like back in the old days.
How heavy that stuff is. And we could print that now.
Yeah, right. But dude, so think about like the wars back in the day when they were getting like bombed and stuff and they were hitting these kinds of buildings. Dude, the brick would be rubbles, and yet these steel structures, like the main, the steel work, the ironwork,
side of it would still be
the
together.
Skeleton would still be there. And it's like, man, just build it back up. Just, it's just dirt turned into brick. I mean, I think that's an attestment of like how serious, dude, that's some serious stuff. Like, yeah, I'm just saying.
Hmm?
It's solid construction.
I don't know. A lot of them got completely demolished. So.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
But yes, there was still, in most cases, somewhat of a skeletal structure left that was impressively still standing somehow.
I don't know. So I want to go back to this conversation we had before.
Whoa.
With stonework and your idea of frequencies being emitted and the rock structures forming from that.
Yeah. So when we looked at the sound resonance experiment with the salt, and they laid it on that granite plate or whatever plate it was, and then they did the frequencies, and you'd notice the patterns of the sound waves would make like integral webs. And when you thought about that, I think it was in Peru or it's somewhere in Spain where, well, it's definitely in Europe. Just kidding, that it's not in Peru or Spain. Was it Africa where they found it in those mountains where they didn't normally find
where the stones,
some of these megalithic structures and stuff?
The stones were in certain patterns.
Yeah, and it fell on certain planes that had to do with energy, resonance, and then we discussed like those circuit boards that if you assume like these ancient temples are meant to be amplified through sound, through their worship, whatever.
Yeah, the resonant frequency of like the chanting and stuff to harness that vibration.
Yeah. And then when you look at the lines that they cross on, if they're in certain spots, they could like amplify. And then if you think about it, it creates this network that if it's strong enough and the frequency is strong enough, that it could actually vibrate the earth. So where the rocks actually shake like the particles of salt in the resonance experiment. So that's how you get those patterns that they can't describe. That's just my theory.
That's what you were saying, is that maybe nobody actually put those stones there, that they literally kind of fell into that position because of the natural frequency of that part of the landscape.
Of the earth.
Well, yeah, because it's like, it's not the fact that... Because
the patterns match.
Yeah, it's not that somebody built it, it's the literal fact that it was a bifact, or not a bifact.
You're talking about like subterranean magnetic interference pulse wave, like
what? Not even like magnetic, just a resonant frequency. I think is probably the more accurate statement, because I mean, like she's saying, because whether it's these supposed in-ground circuit boards are generating energy, and or the collective vocal energy of the masses literally chanting and being
of the strategically placed temples.
Well, yeah, because you're also talking about a lot of these.
We were saying
sacred spots fall on what we call like the way lines,
and we're talking about not just Egyptian. You're talking Mayan. You're talking
because I mean,
ancient Roman, Greek,
and Tesla, because Tesla built his coil tower in Colorado on the same longitude line. I think like the 33 or something like that, which is the same as the pyramids in Egypt. So he's on that same circumference line.
It's actually on the same ley line.
I think it's the longitude. I don't know. Go ahead. Yeah. Fact check this up. It would be the Tesla towers, same line as the pyramids. And I don't know.
Where did he build that?
I forget the name in the town of Colorado, but I'm pretty sure if you look at it,
it was in Colorado.
I'm pretty sure, it was Colorado. Because I feel like I was like, oh, dude, even back then, Colorado was progressive. It was funny. But yeah, if you look at it as a line going around that's why I'm like, I'm pretty sure it's like a longitude, right? That's the one that's like horizontal, right? Latitude is, or what? I don't know.
Yes, I think latitude.
I'm not smart.
South.
We all know this.
That's not true.
Dude, but no, I'm pretty sure
You're smart about some things.
I'm a smart ass, that's for sure. Hey-o.
You're good for something at least.
No, I'm good at something for
Good for at whatever.
There's a difference. One, I'm being used. One, I'm being used more.
That's just silly.
Well, I mean, somebody's got to do it.
Somebody's going to pay my bills.
Well, I mean, somebody does, you know? And I mean, you're not going to step up, so I'm taking care of this. Plus, you know, I don't know. I'm telling you, my kid's leaving soon. I'm renting that room out. I'm going to do something with it. I don't know if I'm getting a roommate. No, I'm not going to rent a room out. That's not serious offer. Nobody email, but like, hey, no. Nobody's going to be Philly D's roommate.
No.
Yeah, we're all good there. The only buddy I want you're the only one I let here. No, just kidding.
If I needed to crash, at least I'd have a place.
Dude, always, bro. Yeah, I mean, casa su casa.
Well, normally it would be the couch. So.
Well, I mean, you know how I roll, where I'm very like literal open door policy. You know what I mean? Like, dude, if you know where I live, it's the same thing as like having a landline. Dude, if you call my house phone and I answer, it's because I love you. Yeah, that's for real. That's real talk right there.
You never want to answer your landline.
But then they know where I'm at.
Right.
But see, that's what I'm saying. Whoever would have that line and I answer it, it's because I love you. I mean, you're allowed here anytime, man.
Tell me you're not calling me from a cell phone right now.
Dude, there's times where you've like hit me up and just been like, Pulp Fiction.
Yep.
Yeah, wrong number.
Asshole.
Yeah, right. But no, dude, there's been plenty of times where you've like hit me up in the middle of the day. You're like, oh, hey, man, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, bro, just cruise by the house. I'm not, I'm not there and I'm going to be a few hours. So you can chill, do whatever you want. And yeah, you've come to my spot and just like sat on my porch and read a book and, had like a beer or some tea or, something and just enjoyed the afternoon.
Yeah, man, it's kind of nice. I did that once, actually.
You did it more than once here. Yeah, you did.
Severely, I did it once. Where I was like, I really made the place my own. Like I was just kind of like watching the TV, playing games.
Are you having an issue with
taking
this?
A nap on the couch. What's going on?
No, I'm not finding like the specific what plane they're calling it. I have to read a few articles.
I feel like I'm pretty sure that they're on the same whatever longitude or latitude, whatever. Like
it just says that he chose a location which was according to the laws of where the pyramids of Giza were built, related to the relationship between the elliptical orbit of the planet and the equator.
Okay,
that's a ley line. That's basically what that is.
Well, I mean, in hearing that,
it was intended for wireless transmission of energy.
Well, I mean, I know that, but no,
I know that.
I know.
Well, that was the whole
I'm trying to find
free energy. That's not the question. Because there was.
She's gonna hang up on us, man.
I feel more than a few documentaries.
You are the weakest link.
I feel there's more than like one or so documentaries where it talks about what you're saying, that correlation. But I'm pretty sure whether it's a, what they call like, ley line or being on a literal longitude, latitude. I'm not smart. I know this, but on one of those literal, hemispherical lines of the planet.
Right. The longitude and latitude though are based on like somewhat geographic constants, whereas ley lines, are based on magnetic flux, through there, because the Earth is basically like a giant magnet.
Well, right. It's
so you have these.
What do you want?
Electromagnetic, waves.
Like pulse lines. I think is a decent way to describe that.
And generally, where they intersect is even more powerful, and that's where generally you're talking about.
Because I think for a long time, a lot of the UFO crop circle conspiracy idea, one of the grander correlations that they had was that if you looked at the ley line, like a lot of them really corresponded with that, which I think also, from what I'm to understand,
all major churches, most government buildings,
and a lot of like underground waterways.
Of course, let's not forget that there's pyramids on like every continent in the entire world.
Yeah, that's a whole. We could have a show just about that.
Different types of pyramids.
We could just sit here and just name the different places, and that would be like the show.
I think it would be harder to find a place that doesn't have a pyramidal structure.
Ooh, let's play that game. Yeah,
that would be the harder one. Like,
who doesn't have a pyramid? I want to play that game.
There really would. There's not many. There's not many.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, dude, it's gonna be hard to find that. I want to find that.
Ancient technology. Like, I'm just saying. It goes back yet
the look
again.
On your face. I'm sorry. The look on your face was killing me.
Keep coming back to that because, like, how do you build some of these structures with? I mean, when you go back to those dates, you think, well, we weren't nearly as civilized as we are now, and it's like, well,
I think.
What do you? Yeah.
I think the discussion isn't the civilized aspect; it's the technology aspect. So we're looking, and this is like I think the heart of that discussion as far as like time frame, because you're looking at what would be deemed a relative idea of like hunter gatherer in the Bronze Age. So you're talking some formulated metal, but not. Especially because of the materials we're talking about, is like black granite and all this stuff.
Yeah.
So the tools, the literal tools of the time, don't correspond with the ability for production. At least they're, in our minds currently, we can't see that connection. So it's the fact that you have like, basically a chisel and a hammer, and you're getting finite, precise stonework. So there's like, mundane tooling and finite precision that's just like awe-inspiring.
That's why
they don't make sense.
I never understood about the assumption that it was.
And you go straight to aliens, right?
The structures at at the Giza, I guess. Not the oldest. I guess the Sphinx predates the Giza. I forget if they say.
I believe so. Like I think they say the Sphinx has been like redone like 3 or 4 times. So it's like several hundred years spanning of being eroded or broken. And then
to think that people with these, as far as we can tell, rudimentary tools, and I guess a lot of slaves were able to put together the pyramid. It's like, well, why would you go through all that? Like, what was the purpose of it? And that's where I look at it, and I'm like, does it not like almost in some ways look as if it could create some kind of geothermal magnetic generation of some sort with the way, we were talking about that before with certain parts of the sarcophagus looking like the core of a battery if you were to fill a chamber with water.
Well, I think you had made that, if I'm recalling correctly, your statement was more about on the specific days, like the equinox, solstice, all those things, where there was different tunnels or shafts.
Well, where there may have been annual flooding is what I was getting to. And that not rainwaters per se, but I mean...
Well, there was like a supposed pool of water, and there was like evidence that there was definitely water retained.
At some point and I think that's what we were touching on before is there was a big argument about the fact that the erosion that's on the side of the feet and the body of the Sphinx doesn't match the kind of erosion you'd see with occasional hard rainfall. It matches the kind of erosion that you'd see if like the whole bottom part of that structure was sitting in water for several months at a time.
Well, yeah, but I mean, there's also papers that support the idea of like sandblasting erosion as well. But then there's,
it doesn't make those kind of, yeah.
But it could be, because you've even said it yourself, where it was the Nile would flood out on a relative cycle. So, I mean, the combination of the two, honestly, so I don't believe in the whole like the pyramids being massively submerged, where they, more or less
not the pyramids themselves wouldn't be submerged, but what would happen is the lower chambers would fill up with water, and that would create I don't know whether it's certain harmonic resonance or an actual electric current or some kind of piezoelectric switch of some sort. And this goes back to what you were saying before, that like all these ancient sites are built almost to look and resemble like motherboards or some kind of a circuit board or something.
I don't.
And then it's
there's some spots, and I don't.
There's something with I
don't believe all of those truly coincide with placement.
Whether it's magnetic or geothermal or it's like
vocal resonance or
piezoelectric, whatever you want to say. Like there's something weird going on there.
Well, seeing that, like, all right. So here's the thing with like water straight up, hydrogen and oxygen, H2O. Is not really conductive. Like, it's not highly conductive. It requires a little extra something in it.
Like salts.
A little bit of salt. That the sodium ions helps to create radicals. Those are what can kind of get the atoms to mix and match to create these different molecules. It allows the water to become even more conductive. So,
right.
Like water by itself, conductive, but it doesn't have a lot unless, there's some...
It needs electrolytes.
It needs a dissolved solid. A conductive solid.
Right, but that's what electrolytes do in the human body. It's basically the same thing.
Yeah, sodium ions, I think.
You're looking for electrolytes. You're looking for something to bounce the signal off that's going to actually increase as opposed to decrease its harmonic resonance. Like it wants to travel through that body now because it can find all these points that it can...
Well, yeah, because our synapses fire on like sodium barriers for the most part. So that's why like having the right amount of salt in your system. And see, that's another thing is like people always talk about how like humans are 70+% water. And it's like, dude, we're salt water. Like we're saline solution. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the water in our system is the thing that I think allows a lot of our electrical firings to, work.
Salt's a natural preservative.
Oh. So you're saying being saltier will allow me to live longer?
Yeah, be salty.
Physically?
Baby.
Yeah, I'm going to be salty.
Just be salty all the time. Just be salty.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Saltalicious.
I don't have time for that in my life. F that. I'm not going to be salty.
I thought we were saying with salt you would have more time, so technically you would. I'm so confused what's going on right now.
Sorry, we're talking salt in the scientific sense.
Oh.
Scientific.
Oh, lovey. And what?
And you were right, it was a ley line.
It was a ley line, so you were correct. I was, yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying is I recall from more than a few documentaries that there was a congruent line that they were using. So it was like, and you did it all.
Ley lines are just energy points. Yeah.
They're like pulse lines, like you were saying.
I think there was like mention of that kind of stuff, like in the Da Vinci Code and stuff too. Like these lines of power that intersect like across like two major lines of power that intersect would land on something like, the location of the holiest of holies or, the temple at Jerusalem kind of thing, you know what I'm saying? Or
I watched the documentary where the Ark of the Covenant, which is, I guess, the supposed idea of the 10 Commandments, the stone tablets being put in, inside this box, in a box, is somewhere in Africa.
That was made from the melted down gold from the calf that people were worshiping. I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
This is yeah.
If you want to go a little bit further,
I'm not sure that this is straight up historical, though. I don't know what's going on there.
Fact checker, sounds like write us a report.
Sounds like metaphor to me. I don't know.
Get back to us. Yeah, right. I feel like
we're kind of telling a story here.
I'm not saying
for those
it's not true.
That's all I'm saying.
It just doesn't sound real. I'm not. It's not that I want to believe you.
Well, it makes you. I mean,
because was it Eric Von?
It certainly makes you question when something something so normal is generally accepted, but is it really that much of a stretch to go? Maybe it was aliens. I don't.
Well,
who's to say?
Well, you can think about it. At one point, the Earth was the center of the universe. And then, it's the sun is the center of the universe. And then it's like, oh, well, the earth is flat. Oh, wait, no, it is round. Oh, no, it's not round. It's oblong, elliptical. Oh, no, it's not. Now
the earth is in the third spiral arm of an insignificant galaxy on the end of a spiral arm of the mega galaxy that, it's like this. We're nowhere, nothing.
What does it all mean?
Nothing. It means nothing.
Dude,
it's just beautiful.
You're really inspiring people to just want to keep going, bro. Good job. So if you want to...
Somewhere in there, I think there's a scientific quote. I wasn't sure, but...
I mean, maybe next time come a little bit more prepared.
It's all nothing. It's all vibration.
Do you remember the videos by Eric Von Detten and stuff where he talks about the accounts within the Bible and stuff where the aliens come down and the ships come down and they're talking about the supreme beings. We had watched... Well, my whole thing is the accounts with the light. Anytime somebody has an account with a UFO or an angel or something like that, they all relate to this bright light coming down. So whether you hear alien encounters or angel encounters, it's they just all talk about this bright light. And that kind of resonated with me. And I was wondering if that's where the connection was that they were discussing before.
And I don't know. To me, that really lends its hand to interdimensional beings, things that transcend beyond.
That's the other thing is that on that last. Sorry, I got wicked excited. But
we gotta wrap it up.
I know, really quick. And then on that last thing that we watched, it's all right.
All right, fine. Put a pin in it. All right, yeah, sorry, fam. Yeah, I know.
Time.
Oh, God, just as soon as
it's always when we get really deep into it.
We don't plan this, but maybe we do.
No, but you can't write this.
Yeah, you can. But so this is I'm telling you, as always. If you want to reach out, ITY directionsmusic.org. Go to the website directionsmusic.org. Hit us up through the contacts. Doesn't matter. There's individual as well, Gemini and or Philly D at directionsmusic.org. I don't know. We gotta go. We thank you for listening. We appreciate you. Thanks for coming back.
Keep the conversation going, people.
Yeah, hit us up. This is I'm Telling You, Philly D.
Mr. Gemini.
Miss JD.
Yeah, thanks for coming out with us, fam. We appreciate you. Don't look at me here. Be good to yourself. Be good to everyone else.
Much love.
Peace.
Peace.